There we go. Good morning, and welcome to another episode of Aquarium Online. Here at the Aquarium of the Pacific, my name is Lourdes. I'm an educator here, and today we are going to be counting some critters. So, without further ado, let's get started. But real quick, before I forget, I'm not alone here in the studio. Behind the scenes, helping me with all our critters is our wonderful Isabel. So good morning to her as well. All right, well, let's get started. I'm gonna move to the side and let's see what our first animal of the day is. Look at that. What do we have? What is it? Does anybody know this animal? I'm kind of blocking his face. Okay, let me step aside so we can get a full view. That is a sea turtle. Now, we have a sea turtle on screen. How many do you see? Let's see. I'm looking real hard, and I think I only see one. So, I'm gonna move to the other side of our sea turtle so we can see that beautiful face. We have one sea turtle. Now, what do we notice about the sea turtle? Do you see this wonderful iconic shell? Yep, that wonderful iconic shell helps our sea turtle with a lot of things. Mainly protection, right? When you're out in the ocean and you mostly eat just jellies and algae, you kind of need a little bit more to help protect yourself. But what I want to highlight is something else. I want to see if we could get a video of it swimming. All right, so I'm going to step up again. Look at that. Look at how they move their fins. Now, can you swim like a sea turtle? How are they moving those fins of theirs? Kind of like an up and down motion, right? Kind of pushes them up and then back down. Awesome. And we still have one sea turtle, so that's all. Swim like a sea turtle. Up and down and up and down. Awesome. All right. Fantastic. One sea turtle to start us off. Let's see what's next. Ooh. Does anybody know what these birds are? Let's see. I'll give you guys a few guesses. Get your guesses in. All right. If you said a puffin, you would be correct. And how many do we have? One and two. Two puffins. Now, while we're here, friends, if you have any questions about any of the animals we get to see, or in general, you can text live here at 562-286-1838. And if you're watching after after we're done live, it is 9:05 currently in Long Beach, California on the 12th of August. We would love to hear your questions as well. You can just email us at live@lbaop.org. All right, fantastic. So let's talk a little bit about these puffins. We see two of them right here. What do we notice about their beaks? They kind of have these like wider beaks. Now, if we look at their beaks, what do we think they eat? Hmm. Did you say small fish? Because if you did, you would be correct. They eat small fish. Now, these are diving birds, so they will basically launch themselves into the water to be able to grab those fish. Now, I wonder if we have something showcasing that diving. Oh, here we go. Look at that. Look at how good swimmers they are. And you wouldn't think so when you think about birds. Birds typically are in the air, but our diving birds like our puffins and our other alcids are actually fantastic swimmers. Now, they don't spend a lot of the time underwater, but they're really good at going down to grab their food and grabbing it with those specialized beaks. All right, fantastic. It's a great video of our birds. Now, we're going to keep this count going. We had one sea turtle and two puffins. Let's see what we get for three. All right, I'm going to step to the side. Oh my goodness. Look at these cuties. What do you see? I see clownfish. All right. Now, I don't want to block any, but let's count them together. Ready? I see one, two, and all the way down here. I'm going to squat down. You can see my head. Hello. 3. We have 3 clownfish. I'm going to try not to block all of them. All right, fantastic. Now, in this picture, as I sit with my clownfish here, what do we notice? What are they in? Do you see the creature that they're inside? Let me ask this instead. This might be a little easier because it might be a little hard to see. I'll give you a better view. Where do clownfish live in? Other than the ocean, of course, they need to be in the water. But what are they living in? If you said anemone, you would be right. So clownfish will live in anemones. Check that friend out. Look at how beautiful that flower-like structure and all these tendrils on the outside, these tentacles, right? So clownfish are very specialized in that they have a mucus that helps protect them from the stinging that is anemones. Now we can see some of our clownfish here moving around in some anemones. Now, what else do you notice? Do you see those stripes? What do we think those stripes could help them with? If they're living in anemones, maybe those stripes might help with camouflage? Possibly. Yeah. So those stripes, because they're living in these animals that have all these tentacles that kind of form like shadows and stripes and all that, those stripes help them stay hidden within their anemone homes as well. All right, cool. So we got 1 sea turtle, 2 puffins, and 3 clownfish. All right, let's see what else we can find. Let me move off screen again. Oh, perfect. Now, they're moving around, so this might be a little hard to see, but what's the animal we see? Seahorses. You'd be correct. Now, how many do you see? They're kind of moving around, so it's a little hard. But I see 1 leaving. I see 2, 3, and I don't know if you saw my friend down here. 4. We have 4 seahorses. Can you show 4? 4 fingers? Awesome. So, what do we notice about our seahorses too? Do you see their tails? What are they doing with those tails? Yeah, they're kind of wrapping them around the seagrass to hang on. Now, if I'm a little fish, it might be hard for me to kind of stay in place with some strong currents, right? So I might use this specialized tail of mine, like the seahorses, to hold on so that I don't float away. Now, this is a beautiful, beautiful picture of our seahorses. We can see that kind of tail that curls around that would typically curl around something to hold on to. You could also notice their little fins. Now, we see different kinds of fins in different fishes, but you'll notice that seahorses don't really have super, super strong fins. Now, they are good at swimming, but if a strong current comes around, it might be a little harder to stay in place. And when swimming around, that costs energy. I don't want to be using all my energy just to stay in one place. So if I want to hang out in my little eelgrass home, I might just hold onto that grass itself with my tail. All right, fantastic. So we're at number 4. Let's see what we got for number 5. Ooh. Now, we do see 1 creature, but we're not done with our counting because what we're going to do for this one is count its arms. Now, here we have a leather sea star, our super, super cool friend. Let's count these arms, all right? At the top. 1, over here. 2, 3. I'll move to the side. 4, and 5. So, sea stars typically have 5 arms. Show me 5. Awesome. And high five. Right on. So, sea stars will typically have 5 arms. Usually, sometimes they might have a bit more than that. There could be different factors for the species, or they might have lost an arm and they're still trying to regrow them. But what I want to highlight for our sea stars is actually how they move. Did you know underneath they have these specialized feet called tube feet? They're these sticky, sticky little suction cups. Let's see if we can get a video. Perfect. Look at that. It looks kind of weird, but they're actually super, super cool specialized feet. And they will be really, really sticky. And they just kind of use these tube feet to go 1 at a time, or 2, or 3, or a whole bunch, right? Under each arm, there's thousands upon thousands of tube feet underneath our sea stars, and they use that to help them not only just move around, but to stick to rocky surfaces, right? So when we see them in our tide pools, we like to just give them a nice gentle touch on the top and not try to detach them because we don't want to hurt them because those tube feet are really, really strong and we don't want to accidentally hurt them, right? All right, awesome. So we saw one sea turtle, we saw two puffins, three clownfish, four seahorses, and we saw one leather sea star with 5 arms. Fantastic. Okay, let's see our next critter. Ooh, now this one might be a hard one. Can anybody guess what these animals are? It's okay if you don't get it, but you can see them a lot, especially when you go tide pooling. These are limpets. Now let's count these limpets. I know there's kind of a lot going on, but they're going to be these friends right here. So I have one, I have two, I'm kind of going all over the place, three, four, closer to me, 5, and all the way over here, I have our 6th limpet. That's 6 limpets. Now, do you know what a limpet is? They're kind of like sea snails. And what's really cool about them is the way that they eat. So they kind of have like a specialized tongue underneath that shell, right? We're looking at that top of the shell. And they'll use that tongue, called a radula, to scrape off all their food from the rocks, right? So we got, let's count that again. Let's get a good look at them. Now, when you go tide pooling, they do blend in really, really well to the rocks. And even, here at the aquarium, they might be a little hard to spot in our exhibits because they blend in so well. But they are little friends, super, super tiny. I would say no bigger than, I've seen one about like this big. They could get a little big for that, but typically small and typically blend in really well to our rocks. But they are little friends that we should say hello to as we explore our oceans. Okay, fantastic. Let's keep it moving. Okay, I want to give these friends just a little bit of time. I want to notice a couple different things. I want to notice how they're moving. And of course, how many there are. And maybe wonder how big they are. So, how many did you count? Did you say 6? We have 6? You have 6. Oh, nope. There's a friend that came out just in the nick of time. It would actually be 7. I'm going to block him again. But you might have seen my friend that's right behind me. He just head out just a little bit out of the sun, and that's going to give us 7 garden eels. You know what garden eels are? It's okay if you don't. That's right to learn. So, check out these guys. Look at that. Now, they do look really, really skinny. And if you guessed they were small, you would also be correct again. They are fairly, fairly small fish, right? That tend to hang out where? Where do we see them? In the sand. Yeah, they bury themselves in the sand. So when we were counting our garden eel friends, we saw 6 kind of sticking all the way out. But at the very, very end, we got to see our 7th garden eel pop their head out for a total of 7 garden eels. So let's review how much we found in our animals, right? We saw one sea turtle that we got to see swim around just like this. Everybody swim like sea turtle. Awesome. Then we got to see 2 puffins and some of their swimming movements. We saw 3 clownfish in an anemone that they live in with those special, special stripes that are easy to identify. We saw 4 seahorses and those curly tails that help them wrap around grasses to hold on as the tides come around. We also saw 1 leather sea star with 5 arms, right? And we got to see those really, really cool tube feet, 6 limpets, and we got to talk about their really awesome tongue that helps them eat, and 7 garden eels hiding in the sand. Now, again, if you have any questions, feel free to text them at 562-286-1838. Or if you're watching this after the fact, you can email questions at live@lbaop.org. Again, if you have any questions regarding any of the animals we talked to today, please feel free to ask. We'd love to answer your questions. But yeah, so I'm going to take a few more minutes just to talk about the garden eels. There's one thing I want to just end off on. Now we saw them kind of going in and out of the sand. Step aside so we can get that. We can see our friend come out of the sand again. Super, super hard to see. Right above my head. See his head? Got one. Right there. Peek back down. Back down. Yeah, there he goes. We have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Now, why do we think they might duck under the sand? You're a tiny, tiny little animal. What do we think? Predators, exactly. So, if I'm a little guy, I don't want to get you. I don't think anybody wants to get you, right? So what our garden eels like to do is when they see a predator, they'll quickly whoop, duck under into the sand. That'll be a little garden eel. And when it's safe to come back out, what they do is they essentially make this even tinier, tinier, tinier creatures. Right? So we can't really see them, but they can. They on that. They use the sand as a sea. Fantastic. Let's move on to our next animal. Oh my goodness. Probably one of my favorites. And I'm probably going to take a minute to talk about this one. This is a octopus. And if you're a bit more specific and you said a giant Pacific octopus, congratulations, you are a octopus expert. So, right behind me, I have a giant Pacific octopus. And what I want us to do is, again, we have one animal. So, what do you think we're going to count? What do we count on our sea star? The arms. Let's count the arms of an octopus. Okay, so I'm going to step aside and I'm going to let you guys count. And then I'm going to come in and we're going to count together. Awesome. Okay, ready? Let's double check that counting. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. That is 8 arms. That is a lot of arms. Imagine having 8 arms. I could do almost everything, right? Awesome. So, let's talk about this friend now. Looking at our giant Pacific octopus, do you think they have bones? They don't. So, we have bones, and that makes us vertebrate. Can you say that? Vertebrate. Awesome. Feel that? Feel your back? There might be some bumps. That's going to be your backbone, and our hard skeleton. That's what makes us vertebrates. But for our friend right here who has no bones, we have a special term for that. That is an invertebrate. Oh, there it is. Let me step to the side. Invertebrate. Can we all say that? It's a bit of a big word, but awesome. I could hear you all, and you all sound great. You got it. So, invertebrate meaning no bones. Our octopus friend here only has one hard part in her body. That is going to be the beak. So, it's her mouth, right? And the octopus can essentially squeeze through any space that's just slightly larger than its beak. So if she wanted to get through something, let's say her beak's like this big, then she could get into through something this big because she doesn't have any of those bones. Now, I don't think I could fit through a hole like that, right? I have bones that stop me. My shoulders, even my head's going to stop me. But that's not a problem for our octopus friend. Now, I do want to highlight something about our octopus. I'm going to step to the side and let's see if we can see her swimming. Look at that. And look at those arms. Wow. So this is our common octopus that we have here in the Aquarium of the Pacific in our tropical gallery. Look at her. So cute. Oh my goodness. Now, did you see how those arms move? Oh, look at that again. She's going to move them again. Notice how they move a little independently from each other. Can you guess why? Hmm. Can you guess how many brains an octopus has? This will actually tie into our next number. Now, Isabel guessed, and she would be incorrect. If you guessed one, you're incorrect. If you guessed two, you're also wrong. Now, how many arms does an octopus have again? 8. Let's add one more to that. 9. That is the amount of brains an octopus has. So they have a brain for each arm. That's why when we see our octopus move, those arms are kind of moving really different from each other, right? Because they have their own brain attached to each of those arms. And then, of course, they have that main brain. Now, we humans only have one brain, and that's our main brain that we use to move all our arms together, right? That's why sometimes it might be hard to do certain things, right? Like, what is it? You have to move one hand forward and the other backwards. I can't do that. My brain doesn't function like that. Maybe if I had two brains or a brain for each arm, it would be a lot easier. But for us with one brain, a little harder. For our octopus with 9 brains, that's going to be a lot easier, right? Because they have those independent functions. Right. So let me recap on that count. Ready? We saw 1 sea turtle, 2 puffins, 3 clownfish, 4 seahorses, 5 arms on 1 sea star, 6 limpets, 7 garden eels, even though one was kind of hiding from us, and 8 arms on a octopus. Okay, so I have a question from Parker. How does an octopus defend itself? That's an awesome question. So, octopuses have multiple ways of defending themselves, and one of them being its ink. Now, octopuses, like squid, have a special function. I'm going to move to the side so we can check this out. Let's watch actually first. Oh, did you see that? Oh my goodness. Did you see it burst out that ink? That's one main defense of an octopus. They will send out ink out of what we call a siphon. So it's kind of like a little hole on the side of its head. You kind of got to see one side. There's another on the other side that got to spray out that ink. And that ink, they'll wait for a predator to get a little close and then they'll spray him so that way it blinds the predator, right? So they can't see anymore. And then they're like, where did the octopus go? Into the rock, but they didn't see that. Another fun thing about that ink is actually it has kind of a like really, really stinky smell. So it helps deter away predators, right? So not only are they blinded, but now it smells really gross around them. I'm probably not going to want to eat something that stinks. So I'm going to go the other way and find something that's a little easier to catch, like maybe a fish, right? Awesome. So yeah, that's one way that they defend themselves. Okay, fantastic. Oh, and one last recap before we move on to our next number. How many brains does an octopus have again? Hold it up with your fingers. 9 brains. Right on. Okay, let's take a look at our final animal. What is this? Do we know? Shout out your guesses. If you said crab, you are correct. And if you said spider crab, you are even more correct. So right here we have one of our Japanese spider crabs. Again, we have one animal, so what do we think we're going to count? Their arms or their legs. So let's count them all together. Ready? Down here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then we're going to go to the other side. 6, 7, 8. They're kind of hiding a little bit, but we have 9 right here. And 10. 10 legs on our spider crab. Now, I know the octopus was a lot of legs, but 10 is even more. Maybe a bit too much. But it works out for them, right? Now, do we know what family these guys come from? They come from the arthropods. So, meaning jointed legs. I want you to notice something about their legs. See how they kind of have like bends in them, kind of like the same way we bend our elbows? Ooh, let's check this video out. Oh, and there's something else really cool here that we could look at too. So notice how those legs move, how they bend. right? And look at that mouth. Oh, we have a friend in the background. Photo bomb. And look at that mouth. Oh my goodness. Kind of creepy a little bit, right? To me, it's a little creepy. But they are still super cool animals. Now, these friends do tend to live in deeper waters. And what do you notice about that mouth? Kind of like opening and closing, right? Do we do that with our mouth? Kind of, right? But our mouth might move a little different, right? Ours is a bit more up and down. Imagine having to open your mouth sideways. And look at those claws too. They're kind of a little smaller as well. So, if I'm a crab, how would I eat? I might grab it, right? Just like I would myself as a human, and bring it to my mouth. Now, you see how it's kind of like two layers to that mouth? That's to help keep that food trapped while they continue to eat their food. Right with us, it's a little different. We might need to kind of hold it with a fork or chopsticks or something, even our hands, as we continue to eat it and digest it. We don't have that extra function that helps us hold food in place. Well, we might try grabbing something else, right? We do have two arms, so we could use them, but we're not doing too much, right? All right, I'm gonna give a highlight again to our spider crabs. Look at that. That's such a cool video of their mouth moving too. And we get to see those legs in action. See how they can straighten and bend. Now, if you never got to see a spider crab in person, they're pretty big and they're a little tall, right? Now, before we leave our spider crab friends, there is one thing I want to talk about. Do we notice their shell? See that? What do we think happens when they get bigger? Can you guess? All right, great guesses. Here's the answer. Ready? They molt. What does that mean? That means they essentially form a mucus around their body and slip out of that shell. Now, they could get this all done in one go, or it might take a few tries to get it all off together. All right, now, as much as I would love to keep talking about all our animals, it is going to be time for us to go. So, again, if you have any questions, you can email us at live@lbaop.org. And just as a recap, let's count those animals again. We got one sea turtle, two puffins, three clownfish, four seahorses, five arms on a sea star, six limpets, seven garden eels, eight arms on a GPO with nine brains, and 10 legs on a spider crab. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for counting with me and learning about our really awesome ocean creatures. And I'll see you on the next one. Bye.